Hey, welcome, 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 welcome to You Choose Sundays. We're back. I took last week off because I needed it. And this week I'm back, and I'm back with my friend, my sister, my boo, one of my oldest and dearest friends, Coach Crystal Nickson. What's up?
Whoop,
Hey.
whoop, whoop, whoop. Hey, everybody.
I'm so excited to have you on today because you started your business before I did. And so I watched you and what you were doing and was just, you know, you're way older than me. So I'm always excited to follow.
I'm sorry. We have a connection issues. You said,
I had to do that because we always, well, she always jokes about being younger than me, but back it up, older and
and
wiser.
Eve, and mhm.
So I'm so excited to have you on the show today, Chris. Sure. And you are I'm gonna try to get it all together, right? Certified financial social worker educator. Boom. Alphabet soup.
Boom.
Tell us what it all means. Did I miss anything there?
Um, no, I mean everybody pretty much knows I'm an accountant already, so that's like accounting, meh. Um, but yes,
Bring us.
certified financial social worker. So I'm an accountant, which means I help people and businesses with I'm mostly into taxation. So I'm not a business accountant who works in any department or anything or a cost accountant. I'm usually doing taxation. So taxes
Okay.
and things like that for businesses, foreign entities, and individuals. And then the certified financial social worker thing. So I was a financial coach for a while with a couple of nonprofits, and we use tools and systems to help people out of poverty, help people increase credit scores, help people purchase homes, things like that.
Oh,
And as the longer I worked, the more I started realizing that the methods that we were using kind of didn't work. And if they did work, they didn't last long. So I started doing research on my own, and I stumbled upon the financial social worker certification through Rita Wolfson, Dr. Rita Wolfson, and she's the godmother of financial coaching out of WashU in St. Louis. And so I did some research on the program. I reached out to Rita. We had a few conversations. She coached me throughout the entire process of learning and testing. And then I became a certified financial social worker. And what that means is that not only can I help you with your finances, but I can also help you with the issues that contribute to the lack of, the mismanagement of, maybe, or the fear of your finances. So I do personal and individual financial counseling. I do workshops for businesses and corporations for their employees, because your employees as a business are not going to tell you that, yes, you pay me decent money, but I'm behind on my mortgage and I might be about to foreclose. They're not going to tell you that. So you bring in somebody like me to show them that you are aware that they're on the radar and that you do have resources to help. I've counseled people with gambling addictions, with shopping addictions. And so I don't know, it's like a beautiful dance of finance and also actually caring about what happened to people and led them to where they are, so you can both work together to get them to where they need to be.
Yeah. I love that you pointed out that distinction too. That you talk to people and you counsel them through what is it that makes you make the decisions that you make that kind of keep you maybe sometimes stuck in poverty. So, real talk for a second. All the time, real talk, but just about my own personal connection with you outside of us being dear friends and more like family than anything else, is you have been doing my taxes, my family taxes for more than a decade now. And that's a long time. So before I started my business, before I bought our home, you were helping me. And I don't know that many people are willing to admit this, but I'm willing to admit it because I don't care. Before you really started helping me to understand what I needed to do so that I could own a home, I could own a car, I could start a business, I could have the kind of financial freedom that I have now, still growing that, right? I did not know a lot about taxes at all, other than you needed to have your taxes done. So I would say things like, I need to get my taxes done. But I seriously, I did not know what that meant. I didn't understand about deductions. I just knew I didn't want to go to jail, so I was going to pay my taxes, right? So I would go to H&R Block or whatever. But you really took the time to help me understand some things that I needed to understand. And before I got to where I am now, which I'm so glad and thankful for, my credit was in the toilet. It was garbage. It took me almost a year to be able to buy a home.
I
And so,
remember. I remember.
yeah. And it was super stressful because I'm legit 41 years old. I was in my 30s and this was happening, right? So I was just always so thankful that I had a friend who I could be honest with about where I was and what I did not understand, because that's the thing. Sometimes we feel silly about money, so we don't ask the questions that we need to ask.
Yes.
We stay stuck, not okay, right? So I'm just always so thankful that I have a friend who's so smart and educated and caring and compassionate, because that's what you need to be in order to do the job that you do.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
let me ask you this really quick, because I know the tax season is coming up and we didn't talk about this, but I want to ask you really quick. How do you prepare for tax season? Before we get into all the meat and potatoes of today, how do you prepare for tax season? And what does that, when people say like, I need to get my taxes done and I got to go to a tax preparer, what are you hearing? What are you seeing? What are any trends? Tell me about tax season for you.
Okay. So when people say they need to get their taxes done, to me, what they're saying is, I need you to fill out forms that the government has provided to reconcile the information that they already have on their end. That's what a tax return is.
Okay.
That's why it's called a return. Like, people are saying, get your taxes returned to you in a refund. No, a return is to return the transcript back to the IRS to show that, hey, we have the same numbers you have and you can release that money, or I can pay you what I owe. And so that's what it means. It means to get a tax professional, or you could do them yourself. I'm a big proponent for learning how to do things yourself. And everybody knows
I
this.
know you
I
are.
always
I know you
offer
are.
people when I first when
I'm
people
not
first
doing
contact
them.
me
I'm
about their
not
tax,
doing them. I'm not
everyone.
going to do them.
Oh gosh. Every time I talk to certain people, I always say, you will be surprised at how easy it is to do your taxes. I will sit here with you and we can go through them. And they're like, no, good evening, goodbye, bye. And I get it. Everybody doesn't need to do everything. Everybody can't do everything. Everyone doesn't have the capacity. And sometimes, as Americans, as people in 2020, we pay for convenience. And I'm a person who would pay for convenience. So I'm not going to try to fix my own car. I'm going to take it to the mechanic. And I'm not going to try to cook my own shrimp fried rice with extra green onion, even though I tried before and it sucked. I'm going to go to the best Chinese food restaurant right by my house. So I get that if you want your taxes done and prepared correctly and accurately without a headache, you would hire a tax professional, an accountant, or whoever. So anyway,
Right.
with that being said, um, how I prepare for tax season is I have a lot of trainings to do. They begin in October. I have to upkeep with my certifications for financial social work, as well as my tax professional through the IRS certifications. I always try to stay abreast of changes in 2020's taxes are yeah, we're going to talk about that. We'll
We're going
talk
to talk
about that.
about that.
So that's me preparing for tax season. I'm trying to be as prepared as possible for my clients because they hire me for a reason. And one of those reasons is to make sure that their returns are accurate. And
Yes.
I need to be able to be confident in the fact that they're accurate. So I do a lot of studying, a lot of webinars, and a lot of recertifications and upkeep. And we have meetings with people across the country. We have little groups that we formed on Facebook to share information.
Yeah. And I know you do, because I talk to you often and you're like, I'm studying. I have another test. I've got an exam coming up. And I know you take it very seriously. So because I know you take it very seriously, I want you to explain how serious it is, because I don't think people understand this. You and I have talked about it, how serious it is for you if you don't do what you need to do. I think sometimes people, you know what they say sometimes is they'll say, get as much money as you can back from me as you can, and they don't care if it's legal or not. And we've talked before about how integrity is so important, because for you, it's not like you just lose a client. You can literally lose your freedom if you don't do what you need to do. So talk about that for a second
Absolutely.
for me.
Absolutely. You basically said it yourself. We
Take
I
your time and say it
strive
the way that you need to say it. Say it the way you need to say it,
strive
because that's what you choose is.
every
You can say
day.
it.
I strive to prepare the most accurate, the most like the fastest. Like I'm very, very accurate and quick. And
Yeah.
I've been saying that since I don't know how long. I'm really, really, really fast, but are you accurate? So then you have to work at accuracy. I just
Mhm.
strive to provide a good service for a reasonable price that is absolutely, positively, 100% legal. I don't want my name slandered. All I have is my name. All any of us have is our name
That's
at the
right.
end of the day. So
Right.
all I have is my name. I do not engage in things like that. I am often approached all the time. Because a lot of people are approached. And that's why I have this thing with, and this is not me knocking people, but this is me answering your question. I have this thing where people are like, Crystal does taxes. Well, there are a lot
Mhm.
of people who do taxes. Crystal's an accountant. She went to
Yeah.
school. She has her certification. She has licenses. Um, and the difference is that I have to adhere to a code of ethics. There are things that I absolutely cannot do, or it'll mess with my freedom. It'll mess with my
Right.
income. It'll mess with my family's name. It'll mess with my name. And I ain't got time for that.
I
so,
was just gonna say, let me tell you what I don't mess with: my family and
yeah,
my freedom. Boop.
thank you.
Don't mess with
So
my
I'm like,
family or my freedom, because you might meet another person.
thank
So I get that.
you.
I get
Other
that.
than Coach Crystal. Yeah, I just try to keep it 100 and make sure that neither one of us are going to be in trouble. I don't want my name brought up with you, or I don't want people to stop trusting me because they don't think that I'm honest or I'm doing shady things. And I
Yeah.
also don't want to put anybody else in that situation, any of my clients, anybody I know. Um,
Yeah.
and plus, like I said, when we first started, your tax return is a literal reconciliation of the information that the Internal Revenue Service already has. So it might not come out today or tomorrow or maybe even next year. But if they start combing through and digging and they find one discrepancy, they being internal revenue, your statute of limitations is gone, which is usually 3 years. There's no more
Mhm.
statute of limitations, and they're allowed to go back as far as they want to convict and make you pay and the fees and blah 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 blah. So to avoid all of that, I keep it 100, and I try to do the most accurate, complete, and honest job that I can do.
And because I know that about you, that's why I'm always happy to refer you, because I know that about you. Another
Thank
thing that I
you.
know, besides knowing that about you, is I know that you do not mess with the IRS. I know that much. I know you better pay
My
your
mom
taxes.
used to say, when I was younger, it's three people you don't mess with: the I, the R, and the S.
No, she
And
didn't.
I used to be like, okay.
This is how she said it, because I know how your mom was, and I know how my mom was. The I, the ARA, and the S.
Mm-hmm.
Don't mess
The
with
I,
them.
the R, and the S. Period.
Listen, do you remember that one year that I owed like $100? It might have been $140, and I was so panicked. I was like literally calling you every week,
First
like,
of all,
what do I
you
need to do?
owed like $100, and you owed $100 to the state, and you were like, "I just want to make sure I'm going to pay them." I'm like, they're going to make sure you're not.
I was like,
Don't worry about that. You're going to get notices in the mail. Back to back to back to
I
back
was
to back.
panicked, but
Um,
that's how it was for me, and I know that that's people will not admit it. Maybe somebody will admit it. That's how it was for me, and I know that that's how it is for a lot of people. I did not know, so then when I did know, every decision that I made was based out of fear.
okay.
Um, because I just didn't know. And just in the true sense of the word, not a put down, I was ignorant about a lot of this stuff. And quite honestly,
Mm-hmm.
still am. That's why I hire you, because I don't want to mess with it. And I know you're serious. So one of the things that I promised everybody would be talking about today is some of the takeaway tax tips that people need to know. I have a lot of entrepreneurs and business folks and aspiring business folks. They need to know some tax information specifically for 2020, 2021. And also, I love whenever you tell me about surprise deductions I didn't know about. I will say that I poured thousands of dollars into my business this year. And every time I put out a dollar, it would have been very easy for me to say, like, oh, I'm spending so much money on this business. I don't know what's going to happen. But every time I was putting money into my business and my business is growing, I also kept saying, that's a deduction. That's a deduction. That's a deduction. I know that that's a deduction. And that's because you educated me about that. So where do you want to start? We've got these three things that I really want to make sure that we talk about today. So the tips, some things that business folks need to know, and then some surprise deductions. Where you want to start?
Okay, sorry. I know it might have looked like I wasn't paying attention, but I'm also working.
Mm-mm.
Um,
Work.
it's Sunday, I know, right? Um, so I took notes. Everybody, I want y'all to see that I took notes and I typed them
Yeah, you
out.
did.
I typed
Yeah,
them
you
out
did.
because I do not want to make any missteps or any misstatements because I am in a very technical profession, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later. And I do not want to give bold advice. So please
I
excuse
don't want
me
you to either.
when I look at my notes that I went through because I just want to make sure I'm giving you good information. So I want to start with talking about businesses, and more than
Okay.
likely small businesses, because most of us who own businesses that we know and most of our network are smaller businesses. A small business, of course, is considered a business with 500 or fewer employees. So
That's what I was going to ask you.
yeah,
I
it's a
was going
small
to ask you to
business.
make that distinction. So whenever I think of small business, that's what's in my mind too. I say small business, that's still large for somebody like me. And then I call myself
Yes,
extra small niche business.
yes. I call myself a micro business and other businesses
Okay.
like mine, micro businesses. I
Yep.
don't know if that's a term that's been coined, but I'm coining it here live. No, I'm kidding.
Boop, boop, boop,
Um,
boop, boop, boop.
so we're going to start talking about businesses. And the reason we're talking
Let's
about
do it.
businesses, so much has happened in this year to affect businesses.
Yeah.
And you all know
Legit.
what I'm talking about. So we're going to start with the CARES Act. And for the people who don't know what the CARES Act is, it was the COVID-19 relief package that the government sent through months and months ago to help individuals and businesses in the United States. And so part of the CARES Act was there was a piece in there called the Paycheck Protection Program, and it was a loan to businesses, smaller businesses, um, that provided relief to be able to pay your employees and
Mhm.
to purchase things that you need for the business and for a bridge until we got over where we are now, which we are
Right.
still not
Super
over.
necessary. Super
Yeah.
necessary.
Yes. So the Paycheck Protection Plan was really popular. A lot of businesses applied for funding. Millions and billions of dollars were put into the trough for us to take. So in the CARES Act, there's specific language about the Paycheck Protection Program. I've had a hard time saying that. About the
You're
paycheck. You know what? I'm going to call it the PPP from here on out.
fine. That's what everybody else calls it, right? A lot of people call it the PPP, right?
So there's specific language included in the CARES Act about the PPP that says that there is a very real possibility that these loans will be forgiven. And that's fantastic. And we wouldn't
Right.
have to pay them back. So
Yay.
that's good news.
Yeah.
Um, but
Very
also
good.
in accounting and in taxation, if you have a debt that you owe that has been forgiven,
Mm-hmm.
it is counted as income and you're taxed on it.
What?
So, like, let's say you have a credit card company that's on your credit report and you're trying to dispute it, and you call them and you say, "Hey, I know I owe you $1,000. Can I give you $800 and you can erase this off my credit report and we'll be even?" And they'll say, "Sure." They won't say sure, but sometimes they may say sure. When they say sure, they'll say your account is paid in full. They may even erase it off your credit report, but you will receive a statement in the mail, a 1099-C, a tax form that says you had debt of $200 canceled and you're supposed to count that as income to be taxed on because it's
Wow.
literally you never had to repay, and so it's considered income. So with that being said, the CARES Act has specific language in it that says anybody who has the PPP loan could be forgiven, and if your loan is forgiven, you will not have to pay taxes on it, and you do not have to include it in your income.
Okay.
But
Oh, why you
anything
gotta let
you
me down
purchase
like that?
But
Damn.
anything you purchase with those
Shut.
funds isn't deductible. And that's not a good thing because businesses thrive, like their taxes depend on deductions and credits so that you don't owe a big tax bill at the end
Right.
of the tax season. So if you use that money to pay for employee salary, which is a deduction, you can't deduct it. If you use that money to buy supplies for your office, you can't deduct it. If you use that money to pay rent for your office space, you cannot deduct it. We were
Wow.
waiting and waiting on more information, and then recently the IRS doubled down. They said we are not kidding. You cannot include it as income, and that is fantastic. But you also cannot deduct anything that you spent money on with that, from your taxes. So we're waiting for more information. Businesses are upset because some businesses got millions of dollars. Some businesses got hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they use that money to buy things that they need for their business, and now they can't deduct them, and that is an issue. So we're waiting. It's not the worst news, but it does make it harder for accountants on our end because then you would
Yeah.
have to keep immaculate records so that we don't mistakenly write off something that isn't eligible to be written off because you purchased it or you paid for it with the PPP fund. That's all.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
So
Sorry, I had to start
can
off with
I
the
ask
news.
you before you go on to the next point, can I ask you this about business?
Mhm.
Um and it doesn't have to do with the PPP, but I'm thinking about so many businesses, so many small businesses and service providers like mine,
Mhm.
who maybe their client's business went belly up. So I know for me, I had a fantastic client, who I really feel like I'll be connected with again. But unfortunately, their business tanked in 2020, and so because their business tanked, my contract that was tens of thousands of dollars, um, is not, you know.
Okay.
Thank God. I've been fortunate enough where, my business is good, and but what about for people like me and other small businesses who lost a significant amount of money because their clients, their business went under? Is there any relief for us? Is there any write-off for us? Like, how does that work?
Well, the
So if I
relief
was in a
would be. Mhm.
I was just gonna say, so if I'm under a contract, I'm gonna say I'm under a contract for 50 grand. Okay. If I'm in a
Okay.
contract for 50 grand, but my clients, maybe they went bankrupt, maybe they closed, maybe we had to dissolve our business relationship for whatever reason, halfway through, what do I do? I didn't technically do those services. So I know I'm not the only person asking about this right now or thinking to ask. Is there anything that I can do to recoup? And is there a recoup at all? Because I didn't technically do the work yet, even though we were in a contract together. You know what I'm saying?
That's a very, very good question. So, and it's an accounting question, a taxation question, kind of more than it is just a general question. And that depends on what
Okay.
method of accounting the business uses. So there are two methods. There are cash and accrual. Well, there are three: cash, accrual, and hybrid method of accounting. The cash method of
Okay.
accounting is usually reserved for service businesses like yours and mine, where we provide services and not providing goods or anything like that, any tangible product. And
Okay.
so people who traditionally, people who use the cash method of accounting cannot, we don't have the right to write off money that we missed out on because the contract was canceled. Because we're counting money as it comes, not if it comes. Okay. So then the accrual method people, accrual method people, they are allowed to record income that has not been received yet. So if
Okay.
you have a $50,000 contract and they're paying you, and you say I made $50,000 in December, but they're going to pay you every week until you reach 50,000,
Okay.
and you don't receive all of your money, then you have the right to write off that because you put it on your books that you got $50,000, and it's really not. It's $25,000. So then you can
Okay.
write it off. And it's kind of a technical question, but that's the gist. That's the generality of
Okay.
it.
Okay. All right. So let's move on. Do you have any other business news that business folks need to know before we go on to tips and special deductions?
Okay, so earlier in November, I mentioned on my Coach Crystal page on Facebook, guys. Follow Coach Crystal on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. What do you
Please.
follow people on LinkedIn? I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Amen. Okay. And then do that too. I have a Twitter page that's so inactive it's not even funny. But anyway, that was a shameless plug. No shame here. I mentioned on my
No
Coach
shame.
Crystal page
Do it.
last month that we were talking in a webinar with the government about a possible work from home tax. So when I
What?
mentioned it, people were like, "What?" And so they were like, "You need to explain this." And I didn't want to get into it because it was possible. It's just possible. Nobody wrote anything. Nobody said it's actually happening. It's not a real thing, but there was a whole segment about it and about the possibilities and about how we could account for that. So the gist of it is, I'm going to explain it here. A work from
Okay.
home tax will be imposed on people who usually work in cities who will now have to work at home. So in June or July, something like half of the workforce was working from home.
Okay.
If you work where we live in Detroit, we live in Michigan, and most of my friends who work for corporations work in the city of Detroit. In the city of
Hmm.
Detroit, when you work there, you have to pay city taxes. We all know
That's
city taxes, municipal taxes are used to fund libraries, pay for health services and education, and supposed to pay for road maintenance and police and firefighters and things like that.
right.
If you are not working physically in the city, then the city does not have the right to collect taxes from your paycheck because you are not physically working in the city. You're working if you don't live in the city at your house. So no, you're not, you shouldn't have to pay taxes and that's okay. That's fine. But then
Okay.
what happens to the revenue? We need that money to be able to do what we need to do. So then comes the work from home tax, which would be a tax imposed on people's income at a lower rate than it would be if they were actually working in the city, but still a tax nonetheless. Excuse me. So that was me explaining it. That's what would happen. You would be taxed if you work from home, because the cities are not getting that revenue and they need that revenue. I do not think nothing will come out of it. This has been a really thick year, and we don't need any
Yeah.
more extra. And there are a lot of people who who don't have it, and it just is what it is. But it was a possibility. It did come up in the webinar. People were like, but I don't think it'll happen. Yeah.
I hope not. Because my response is barf. I mean, oh, come on, dude. You
Barf
try to take okay, whatever.
USA.
That's a whole nother segment for a whole nother time. So yeah, barf. That's my that's my only response. What else you got for us on the business front?
Okay,
Wait a
the
minute.
last thing I want to talk about.
Time's out. Because didn't I tell you? I said I always forget because these conversations are really fun for me too, and I sometimes forget. Like, hello, this is not just for me. There are other people here. So I want to thank everybody who's here today, everybody who's joining live, whether you're on
Hey
Facebook or
y'all.
LinkedIn. Um, Send a comment. Let us know where you're watching from, and if you have questions, please make sure you ask Coach Crystal right in the comments. And thanks again for being here. Go, keep
Hey
going. We're
y'all.
talking about
Okay.
business.
Okay, the
Where have you?
last thing that I have down for businesses is businesses you need to decide. I did this on my Facebook page too, but I'm going to do it here because I know a different audience will be watching. So, as a small business, as micro businesses, we when we prepare our tax returns and we're looking to do our taxes, we want the most deductions, we want the smallest tax bill, and so that's going to mean the most write-offs legally and the most deductions and credits legally, and that's fine.
Right.
Um, so, if you're a small business and you're filing your taxes, you want a low tax bill. That's great. Usually, when that happens, especially if you come to the deduction queen, you won't have any tax liability at all, or very little tax liability, which means that your income would shrink. The more deductions that you have, the less income you're responsible for paying taxes on. And that's
Right.
a good thing until your business needs funding. And the bank or
Mm,
whoever's providing you the money needs to see that you have income. And
yeah.
you're showing them a tax return where you have a $10,000 loss because you didn't want to pay taxes. And they're
Yep.
telling you they can't approve your loan because you don't have any income on your business. You're losing. Um,
Yep.
and so it's a catch 22. It's a rock and a hard place. You have to determine if you're a business, especially a small business, do you want what's more important? Um, very, very little tax liability or the ability to be able to borrow if you need to borrow and expand your business. Um, In some cases,
Yeah.
you can have both. It can be a good medium. We can put it there, but in most cases, it's either or. Most people, most small businesses, especially this year, don't have the money to pay a high tax bill. Um, and then they
Right.
don't have the money, and we have all these opportunities to borrow money. But can we
Yeah.
borrow money if them a tax return with all losses from the past 3 years? So you have to
Right.
determine what's more important, low tax liability or the ability to borrow for the future to expand your business or do whatever you need to do. That's the final thing I wanted to say about
Right.
business.
So we talked about how paranoid I am about everything. Like, please don't ever come to me, IRS. Don't send me anything in the mail because I get panicked. So I'm always just like, should I send them some money just because? I
No,
don't
no,
know.
you don't just be finessing the IRS. You're gonna send them a $25 check and they're gonna send it back.
Let me tell you something. I'm gonna send them a doggone fruit basket. You know I knit. I'm gonna knit you some socks. Guess what? I'm gonna make some apple crisp. What do I need to do? I don't know.
Okay, look, if you made a lot of money during 2020 and you did not pay any estimated taxes, and that is what that is, estimated taxes. Estimated taxes are what you pay when you anticipate that you are going to owe a lot of money in taxes.
Mhm.
If you didn't pay any estimated taxes this year, I wouldn't worry about it because again, like I said, all of the tax season final everything's have not been sent in, and that might not be a big deal because they know everything is topsy turvy and crazy right now. Everybody's freaking out about tax season. Everybody's freaking out about what's going on. Believe it
Yeah.
or not, a lot of people I know done very well this year because of the nature of their businesses.
Yeah.
And they done very well. They didn't think they were going to do so well. And so now I have clients who have an abundance of income and they're trying to figure out how they're going to lower their tax bills. So to do that would be to pay estimated taxes before any of this even happened. But who knew this was going to happen? And don't worry
Right.
yourself sick about it. Just call your tax professional, call your accountant. Do not call me. No, I'm playing. You can call me. You can call
That's why I
me.
rock. That's why I rock with
You
you
can
because
call me.
I don't know about any of it. I'm gonna always call you and say,
You call
Crystal,
me or
please,
inbox me,
Sherry.
DM me if you
Yes.
have any questions. I'm very, very open like that. I will help you and answer questions, anything you need. I do offer consultations and all those things on my website and all of that. www.mycoachcrystal.com. Boop.
There it
Okay.
is. Okay, so next point. So we talked about what business owners needed to know. We talked about what aspiring business owners might need to know. 3 tax tips. You got any for us?
No, we're gonna do surprise deductions
Oh,
first.
hold on. Don't do the surprise deductions yet because I told you everybody, don't fire me, okay? Give me grace, all right? I
What
am
happened?
terrible about looking at the comments while I'm having these conversations.
Are there comments? I
Woo!
can't see any comments. It's blank.
In case that
Am I
Mary
supposed to see something?
well, I'm telling you about it. I'm telling you that I suck. Okay, could you let me grow, please?
Okay,
I
wait.
don't.
I'm trying to find the comments. I don't. Are there? Oh,
You
here
don't.
they are.
Yeah. So you
Oh
don't.
my
Yeah.
gosh.
Okay. So here it is. This is from Shannon Case and Shannon. Thank you for being here. Woo!
And
Okay. So I've got this huge microphone also in my way that I'm going to slide to the side. It says, "What if I paid people for work? How do I send them 1099s or whatever I have to do?" Listen, the whatever I have to do piece is my life. Because I'm,
okay,
I just say, tell me everything. Thank you, Shannon.
that's a good
Yes,
question.
coach.
Thank you, Shannon, for that question. And I hope you are good, and I hope your family is good and safe. And I haven't seen you in 1,000 years. Um,
Wait, and
if
I hope your homemade stories is going well because he's got a podcast that is phenomenal. And I think I
what is
talked
it
to you about
called?
it. It's homemade stories. So Shannon,
Okay, let me write that down.
why don't you put that in the chat for everybody? Because
Yes.
I love repping for everybody that came from my hometown, and he's doing wonderful things and amazing things. And so yeah, go and follow him.
Yay.
What's the
I'm so okay. So Shannon, to answer your question,
yes.
if you paid anybody more than $600 or more, you do need to give them a 1099. You can literally print out 1099s on your computer. You can bring it up in PDF style on your computer. You can fill them out and print them on out for whoever you paid more than $600 to during the course of 2020. I hope that answers the question. If it doesn't, you can re-ask or I can add things to it.
Okay,
Okay,
that was a good question.
surprise
I'm gonna put
deduction.
up this question too. Hold on, while
Okay.
you're putting up your surprise deductions, I'm gonna add a question up so that people can look at that and they can put in their own comments, okay? So that we can talk about it. But go ahead,
Actually, you've ever received. Oh my
because
God,
I
that
want to know.
question. Okay. Somebody's gonna be like,
Okay,
"Well, Chris said." No, I'm kidding.
they better not, don't you?
Okay. So surprise deductions. We are going to start off with the fun stuff because people always ask me questions about that, and I always start off with the fun stuff because people like fun and we need fun and smiling. So let's talk
Yes,
about your pets, the pets, like your dogs and your cats and your gerbils and your hamsters and your husbands. No, I'm kidding.
sometimes, 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 sometimes,
I used to
sometimes.
tell my friends would be like, "Are you going to get a family pet?" And I would say, "Oh, I already got two little puppies here."
Oh, shame on you.
I love them, but puppies are cute. No. Okay. So
No, no.
let's talk about pets. So let's talk about guard dogs, right? If you have a guard dog and you use it for business purposes, like if you have a business and you have a dog there in the yard so it can roof people away, you can write that off on
Mhm.
your tax. Your guard dog is literally considered an asset. Okay. So not only would you be able to write off their food, the training, their vet expenses, and things like that. You would also have to depreciate your dog over the. This is so
What?
funny. I'm sorry. You you would have to depreciate your dog over 7 years or depreciate it all in 1 year, like an asset, like you bought a printer or you bought a machine for your job, for your business. You would literally have to depreciate your animal over the course of a few years because of Section 179 in Internal Revenue Code. And so you can write off your guard dog. Now, listen, we saying guard dog, okay? We not saying no labradoodles, no cockapoo, no chihuahua. We saying Rottweilers, German Shepherds, Doberman Pinschers. Oh my
I'm just
goodness,
trying
look
to
at
ask you. This is my little. Don't play about Bernadette Diane. So, are you
I love
saying that
them.
Bernadette Diane? Are you saying that Bernadette Diane does not count?
So
Look at this
she
face. You
comes
see
all
little
the
Bernadette
time.
Diane? Come
I
on.
love her.
You can't.
It's
She's an amazing
beautiful.
little.
um,
What
but
you're
yeah,
saying is,
so
I cannot use
we're talking guard dog
her. Okay.
status, Dobermans, Rottweilers, German Shepherds, no Labradoodles, no
Unfair.
Cockapoos, no Chihuahuas.
Unfair.
But like I
Unfair.
said, for business use only, the good thing about that and the good thing about the tax code is very, very rigid and very, very defined, but it's also very, very vague. So if you
Okay.
have a guard for your business and your business is at home, then you have a business expense, right? Okay. The
Okay.
next deduction for
I
pets
heard that. I heard
would,
that.
would be for dog breeders. And I know people who breed dogs and sell dogs and have puppies and everything. And people say that it's a hobby. But if you made more than $400 from your hobby, it might not be a hobby. It might be a
Right.
business. And plus, you can't write off hobby expenses anymore anyway with the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017. So it's a business. So if you breed dogs, a lot of people I know breed pits and like blue. I think they call them blue
Yep.
pits or something like that.
Yeah.
And they,
They're
they
really
do
great.
that.
Beautiful.
Okay. So yeah, so breeding is a legitimate business. And if you are in business and you're making money from it, you can write things off and all of the costs that are associated with breeding dogs. And like I said, I know a lot of people who do it for fun and for a hobby, but if you make over a certain amount of money, it's really not a hobby anymore. It's kind of a business. So you might want to think about that. You want to stop
Donovan
until
wants
before the last
to
one?
know. Yeah, well, yeah, before the last one, I want to put up a couple
Mhm.
comments here. Donovan wants to
Okay.
know about his Great Dane. Okay. Don't forget about Scooby, Great Dane. He wants to know, does his Great Dane count? Your answer?
Great Danes. Great Danes are guard dogs. They are. They are considered guard dogs.
I love that. I love that.
Yes.
And I saw a comment up here that I wanted to put up. Oh, this is from my friend Lori Joe Vest. I love Lori. Lori says, let me move this microphone again. I love what you say in your profile about a poverty mindset. So everybody, at the end, Crystal's going to give you her website so that you can go and read it for yourself. She says, I'd love to hear more about how our mindset can set us up for a financial failure, even if we're making money. That's the real talk. There are a lot of people who are making a lot of money, but man, they're still in the tank for sure.
Okay. So
So I
can
think
we
that,
please park this question because it's very important and I need to address it after I'm done with this section because it's going to be kind of a
yep.
lengthy, but
Okay,
a kind of deep. Yeah. So Lori, I'm
that's fair.
coming, girl, but I got to
That's
remember my life together. Okay. So, and
fair
don't
enough.
let me forget, I have to answer that question because it's fantastic.
Okay,
Um,
I'll go back to it. I'll go back to it.
Move on to surprise, keeping going with the surprise deduction so I can get through all of this. Okay, so the second surprise deduction is called the qualified business income deduction. So with the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017, they effectively reduced the corporation's tax rate from 35% to 21%. Yay!
I remember that. I remember that.
And so everybody who is not a corporation, like sole proprietorships, partnerships, some estates and trusts were like, so they pay less taxes than we do.
Yeah.
And so Internal Revenue and the tax code and everybody came up with the qualified business income deduction. And what this deduction is a deduction that's only available to businesses that are partnerships, sole proprietorships, um, estates, and whatever.
Okay.
S corps is one of them.
Okay.
And they came up with this deduction. It's a 20% deduction from the income that you made for your business. So you get that deduction if you are again an S corp, a partnership, a sole proprietor, which includes LLCs and all those things.
Mhm.
Um, and hmm,
So you're talking to me. You're talking to Lori. I see that Lori's on. You're talking for us small businesses who are LLCs also.
okay, yes. So I'm sorry, y'all. I have all these notes here, and I'm trying not to like
That's
clutter
okay.
everything up.
No, this is
So like I said, because all of us didn't want to hear the fallout. I mean, the IRS didn't want to hear the fallout from all of us saying, why would you reduce corporate tax rates and not our tax rates? They developed the qualified business income deduction. This is the last deduction that you take on your tax return before they determine your taxable income. Again, it's 20% of whatever your business income was. And it does help out when and I never really paid attention to it when it first popped up on tax returns until maybe my third business return. And I
okay.
said, what? And then I started doing research on it, and that's how I figured out what it was. But a lot of
Okay.
businesses don't know that it's there. And it was created solely for the purpose of shutting up every other business besides C Corps because their tax rate was reduced by 14%. So that's that. Um,
Mm,
the last surprise deduction is not a surprise either, but it's home equity indebtedness. So
okay.
if you own a house and you take out a home equity loan or a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, um, in Internal Revenue Code, it is written that you can deduct your interest from that loan as long as it's on your first or your second residence. You can deduct the
Okay.
interest and keep it moving up to $100,000, not up $100,000 worth of interest, but up to $100,000 of the value in the interest.
Okay.
Um, but
Okay.
when the Tax Cut and Jobs Act came in 2017, it made it so that if you do not use the funds from your home equity loan to buy, build, or substantially improve your residence, you cannot write off the interest from that loan.
Mm,
And
okay.
again, that doesn't sound like a big deal, but we know a lot of people. One of the big parts of the American dream is to get a job and own a house, and you own a house. Let's refinance the house to put our kids through college. Let's pay off our debt. Let's pay off our credit card debt.
Yeah.
You can't do that. If you do that, you cannot write off any interest from the loans, any mortgage interest at all. So
Okay.
that's something that people need to know, and that's a personal individual tax deduction, not so much business, but just to put that out there, FYI.
Okay.
Okay, we're done with that part. Now back to the question from Lori.
Okay. Let me pop it up again.
Yes, please.
You see it there? She says, I love what you say in your profile about a poverty mindset. I'd love to hear more about how our mindset can set us up for a financial failure, even if we're making money.
Okay, so here's what.
So
Um, we all know
I'm
how
going to leave her
powerful
question up too.
Mhm. Thank you. We all know how powerful our powerful our minds can be, and we know how our minds contribute to a lot of things that we do right and
Mhm.
wrong. Um, I mm, I love this question.
What are we going to do? It happens.
Oh, yes, and you know what? Heal. Remember crack heal. As long as you remember that, you will go far in the world. Let me move the camera over. Excuse me. Honey, y'all see my husband in the background? Marham. We on live. I'm on. Okay. Yeah. So you want to cut the TV down? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You know what? Ain't nobody perfect. It is what it is.
Listen, this is Sunday in his house, okay? If he wants to walk around how he wants to walk around, that's that man's house, okay? We're the ones
And
constructing his house and his kitchen
period.
and his living room. You know, it's the truth.
So I wanted to take this opportunity in this question, Lori, to talk about financial trauma. Okay. So
Ooh,
when I talk about being a financial social worker, that's one of my main pickups. Like I picked up the financial trauma machine. I was so interested in it. Um, by the way, yes, I'm a certified financial social worker, and yes, I am the only one of my knowledge right now, still to date, in the state of Michigan. So we need to
yeah,
put that there. But um, trauma from our youth, from years ago, from last week, definitely can affect how we relate to our money. And so it's not necessarily a poverty mindset like you think poor, so you are poor. That's not how it works. You think lack because you had lack, and you don't know that the lack that you had in your childhood is the reason that you have 300 pairs of shoes,
mhm,
and you're still staying with your sister. 300 pairs of $300 shoes, and you're still living with your sister.
yeah,
um
yeah,
you don't know that you being physically violated as a child created this frugalness in you, and it created this tightwad in you, and you don't want to spend, and you don't want to let go of anything because it creates security. So now you hoard money, but you live in is it called squalor? Is that the word? You live
yeah,
in squalor.
yeah, that's the word.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So there are, like, it's a mindset, because you have to dig deep and find out why you do the things I did. You do the things you did. I'm going to give y'all a real story of mine. I was homeless in my 20s for about a year and a half, 2 years. Um, and it was tough and all of those things. And we'll talk about that later, or you can look at any video or Google it and you'll find it. But one of my big takeaways from that I'm still working on to this day, and I said I was homeless in my 20s, which was like last week. So,
bye, girl. This live is over.
um,
We're going off air.
but yeah, so I was homeless, and so when I got back on my feet, and after I had met my husband, and after we got married, and after I went to college to become an accountant and all these things, I started doing this thing where I had to prove to everybody that I wasn't poor. So
Mm,
I would throw parties, I would throw lavish parties, I would pay for everything, I would buy people's kids Christmas, I would buy people extravagant gifts, I would go places that cost $200 a plate and stuff I would never do, the real me would never do. But because of that trauma that was incurred during my live that people can hear you on in the background,
we couldn't, but that's all right. It's good.
because of the trauma that was incurred while I was homeless, I didn't know that I was acting out in that way. It was something in me that had to prove to everybody that I wasn't poor anymore. And then I put myself in debt again, back in
Mm,
debt, because of the trauma and me not addressing why I was doing that. And it was because of feeling of lack. It felt like I was behind. It felt like I needed to catch up. And while I was catching up, it felt like I needed to show everybody that I caught up.
yeah.
So again, Miss Lori, yes, it does have a lot to do with your mindset. Poverty does, but the mindset that is there because of your experiences and your interactions, and unfortunately, a lot of traumas that happen, that keep us. where we are. I had a client one time who was on Social Security when Social Security was still like $600 a month, like SSI or something
Yeah.
like that. And we said, "You want to enter a contest during tax season so you can win $25,000?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Why? You don't want them to share your information? We don't share information or anything. It's safe." And she said, "No, because if you give me $25,000, then Social Security is going to know that I have extra money, and then they're going to cut my SSI." That
Oh,
that mindset right there. That's it. She is
yeah.
so afraid of losing her stable income that she doesn't even want to get any free income because
Yeah.
of the mindset of I'm going to lose and I'm already losing. So anyway, I can talk about this all day. We're gonna stop that there. But Miss Lori Honey, if you got any more questions or you want to talk to me, you can go to my Facebook page or my LinkedIn page. You can shoot me a message or anything, and we can have all the conversations, honey.
Yeah, that was really good. That was good. So wow, we've been going almost an hour now. So I'm gonna start winding us down. But when I wind down, this is kind of like, we get into some more personal things. So one of the first things I want to ask you. So one of the things I need for everybody to know about our relationship and why we can click the way we do and we have the jokes we do is because we've been friends since the 7th grade. So we've known each other more than half of our lives now. And so we do get real and we have some tough conversations, right? About what's going on in the world, what's going on with our businesses. And because I talk a lot and deal with clients a lot and interact with clients a lot who are trying to understand the need for diversity, equity, and inclusion in their industries and across industries. You and I talk about how the industries we serve, what that is like for us. And I
Mhm.
remember you and I having a very real conversation about what it was like for you as a Black woman, really nurturing clients, growing your business, and what that looked like and what it felt like and what your experience is and was like then. Can you share any of that?
Oh, you for real, for
Really?
real.
Are you willing to share it? Yeah, I am legit because listen, because it's the stuff that we need to talk about for real, for
It is.
real,
These are the hard conversations that need to be happening.
for real. And it's past time, and sometimes it gets uncomfortable. But I always think about how like the pruning process is, right? You know that I'm a plant lover and I'm a plant mom and I have plants all over
Mhm.
the place. And just the other day, like I have a scratch on my face because I was messing around with the soil in a palm that I have in my room and it has serrated edges and it cut me. And I was thinking about pruning and how sometimes when you're pruning, maybe you get pricked. It's hard for the plant too, right?
Yeah.
But maybe that's where the growth comes from. That's where the growth.
Yes. Yes.
So we have to talk about this kind of stuff. And for me personally, I talk about it because it's my business and it's going to keep being my business because it's
Yeah.
important. So I want to hear what your experience is like growing your business when you're talking about money and you're talking about credit and you're talking about trying to gain trust, sometimes with people who do not know, trust, or like you before they even meet you.
Okay. So,
There it is.
um, as we can all see that I am a Black woman, and I am in the field of finance, and that right there, I'm Black and I'm a woman. Okay.
Mhm.
That seems to be an issue for some reason, and I don't understand why.
Yeah.
I have had in the past, not more so now, not more so recently, not in the past 2 years, but I have had people before I even start a presentation when they walk in ask me what makes me qualified to even open my mouth in a room. And it's
Mm.
like the fact that I was hired to be here, or
Mm.
if you could let me tell you, before you ask. I am always challenged by people. Like some people feel it necessary to test my knowledge all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, you're an accountant? Yeah. Well, what about blah 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 blah? And what do you do if yada yada yada? And I'm like, we're at Kroger. Like,
Right.
right? I was on the phone talking to somebody, and I'm sorry you heard my conversation, but we're at Kroger. I had a client one time when I was doing contract work through a university in Detroit. She was a white woman and she was middle aged. And I called her and I said, I got your information from blah, blah, blah. And they said that you wanted help with your finances and you had an issue that you needed to straighten out. And I'm here to help you. And she was quiet. And I'm like, hello. And she's like, who are you? And I said, hi, I'm Crystal. And the more I talked, I realized she was trying to get my voice. And when I got done with
Mm,
my spiel, she said, honey, I am a middle aged white woman. I do not need your help. And she hung up on me. So I get that all the time. I get that from even people that look like me. They would rather go to a Block or a Liberty or somebody else who doesn't look like me simply because I look like me. And we traditionally, historically, been taught to trust people who don't look like me. Um, so it's
yeah.
really
No,
hard. It's really hard. But I am thankful for my clients, and I am thankful for the clients that I do have that do trust me, that do allow me to serve them, that do refer me. Everybody, I'm so grateful. But it is tough. It's very tough because I'm in a very technical field, and
yeah.
it's a lot tougher for me because it's so technical. The slightest slip up will do nothing but verify what the naysayers are saying. So I can pronounce a word
Yeah.
wrong, I can miss a decimal, I can say percent incorrectly, and then all of my credibility is thrown out the window. When in actuality,
Yeah.
me walking to the room or somebody seeing my face meant that my credibility was out of the window. They just needed a reason for it to be out of the window.
Yes.
So yeah, that's
Yes.
that.
Yeah. Um, and that's why we need to talk about this.
Hmm.
Because I think people need to be aware. And
Hmm.
as we move, my hope and prayer to a society that is more progressive, more compassionate, more loving, we don't get there without telling the truth about what our experience has been. So thank you so much for sharing your experience, your knowledge. Thank you for being an amazing tax accountant and friend and family member all these years. I just love you so much. And
Oh, I love
in closing,
you too.
I know you do. It's because I'm younger than you and you are charged with loving the younger sister. So,
Oh, let me,
did you just mute so you could cuss me out? Bye.
and we back. We back.
You're a clown. You're a clown. So, in closing, you're getting ready for tax season. We're in the
Yeah.
middle of a pandemic. It's the holidays. It could be a very stressful time right now, right? What are you
Mhm.
doing? What are you doing? What are you doing to stay sane, to stay positive, to stay centered, to stay focused, and to stay healthy? And then I'm wrap up with one last question I see came in. So, what are
Okay.
you doing to really take
Um,
care of yourself in this season?
I am trying to take it slow. I'm trying to not put too many things on my plate. I know that if anybody is watching this who knows me or follows me on my Coach Crystal page, I was very, very ill earlier this year. A lot of us apparently
Yeah,
were very, very ill earlier this year, and I still
yeah,
am not back. It's been 9 months at this point. Is it 9 months? 10 months?
yeah. It's been a while.
February 27th. February 27th. I'll never forget that day. 2020. I mean March 27th, 2020. But I've been not well and I've taken to really concentrating on my health and on
Yep.
my mind and my peace and my everything. So I stay in a lot. Of course I stay in a lot. But I also do a lot of meditating. I do a lot of watching comedies and cartoons. I do a lot of loving on my family and friends. And I do a lot of staying to myself and minding my business because that's all
Amen.
you really can do. Um,
Yep.
and I got three little tips on the way out for tax season for everybody, real
Yeah,
quick.
please,
Okay.
please.
Before,
And then I'm gonna
before
put
the
up the last
question.
question. Yep.
Okay.
And
So,
thank you. First of all,
wait,
thank you so
real
much.
quick.
Hold on one second. Hold on one second. We're gonna wrap up in a second. This has gone long, but it's been really engaging, and we still have people who are on. So thank you so much for giving us all your time and attention. Crystal's gonna wrap up with her tax tips. I'm gonna post E.A. Thomas's question, and then I'm gonna let you all go. Crystal, tips. Take it away.
Okay. Okay. One thing I forgot about, remember we were talking about the surprise tax
Mm-hmm.
deductions, and I was talking about
Mm-hmm.
dogs. Okay. So, really,
Mm-hmm.
really, really quick. In 2004, a woman from Oakland, California wrote off $12,000 in expenses for her cats, right? because she raised her cats and they were living with her. The IRS audited her, and in 2011, she went to tax court and she won her case to be able to claim her cats on her taxes. This is why she fostered the cats. She was supposed to foster them and return them back. Some of them to the wild, some of them back to the shelters to be adopted. Some cats cannot be returned back because they're too young, they're too
Okay.
old, they might be disabled, they might be too tame to go back out into the wild. So she had to keep them and she adopted them. She was allowed to write off not all of her expenses because she didn't keep good tax records, but she did write off the food, their
Mhm.
medical expenses, their toys, and parts of her electricity bill because she needed that to heat up the house for the cats. So I forgot to tell you guys that you kind of can write off your adopted and fostered animals on your taxes. If you got any more questions about that, please email me or inbox me. But anyway, three
Listen,
tax seasons.
listen, hold on. You already knew I was going to try to find a way to write off my Queen Bernadette Diane. She is my emotional support pet. Don't you cover me up.
Okay, but
Bernadette
listen,
is my
emotional
lady
support
love.
pets are legally able to be written off as a medical expense. Those are medical expenses. Emotional support pets are medical expenses. CNI dogs are medical expenses. Please inbox me or
I
email
can't
me
be
at
without these glasses.
info@mycoachcrystal.com.
Let me tell you something.
Um,
Bernadette leads me around too. So yes, leader dog, all of that.
and period. Okay, so three tax season tips, and then I'm gonna let y'all go because it seemed like I've been talking for 3 days. Okay,
Okay, but
tip
I'm
number
gonna put
one.
up. Don't forget about EA Thomas though. EA,
Okay.
we are not gonna forget about you.
Um, Tip number one, start now gathering your information, your paperwork, getting the kids' social security numbers in one place. Please, receipts, please start now. The more information you have up front and the more prepared you are, the better the process goes, the quicker the process goes, and the less likely you are to be audited. Please start now in December 2020 getting a
Okay,
folder of your tax information together, especially if you plan on hiring me. All right.
do it. I know that was for me personally. Okay, I'm gonna do it. Dang.
Number two is remember if you do end up owing your taxes, waiting until April 15th to file them does not make it any better. If you file your taxes in January and you owe $3,000, it's due April 15th. If you file your taxes on April 15th and you owe $3,000, it's due on April 15th. Okay.
That's
So waiting until the last minute to file your taxes does nothing for the timeline that you have to pay your taxes owed. Also, also, if you file an extension, even if your extension is approved, your taxes are still due if you owe on April 15th, unless they change the tax due date again next year, like they did this year with it, which they changed it to July 15th. But remember, you filing your tax return late in the season does not exempt you from still owing on the day that your taxes is due, which is April 15th. The last thing is please be patient and understanding with your tax professionals, your accountants, and whoever else. We are still in the dark about a lot of things. A lot of questions have not been answered. We have a
yeah,
lot of new things coming up this year on taxes that we don't know what to do with. And
yeah,
as we find them out, we'll let you know. And we're just trying our best to make sure that we prepare your returns accurately and completely and reduce your risk of being audited, but just please remember to be patient and be understanding with us because we know right now about as much as anybody else knows.
yeah. And you know what, everybody, make that just the way you are anyway. Be patient with people this
Yeah,
season. Be
patient and kind.
compassionate.
It's really, really tough out here. We need kindness.
It is tough out here, and if you're stressed out and you can't be that way, that's all right. Stay home and be
Amen.
mad and grumpy at home. That's all. That's all. So I'm gonna put up EA Thomas's comment here. And EA says, do you have any recommendations for young people that are aspiring to be in your field?
First of all, hey EA, how are you? um, I I would say to get into this field because you love this field. To get into numbers and accounting and finance and financial social work if you want to, because you love the people and you love the tax law. Because we have a lot of people, I'm sure we all know somebody who do taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they do
Mm-hmm.
it because it's a lot of money, and all they talk about is how much money they're going to make during tax season, and they don't care that they're putting deductions that you don't get. that you're not supposed to get, or they're adding kids that don't qualify as your dependent, and so you shouldn't be getting credits. And so with that comes a lot of mess, and you don't want that. So I would say to any child who wants to get into this field, do your research. If you have a child who wants to get into this field and they want to talk to me, have them call me. We can do a Zoom or a Facebook live meeting or whatever. But yeah, I would say just make sure you're getting into it for the right reason. And the main reason I got into it was because I didn't see a lot of people who looked like me in this field. And I wanted to make it clear that we belong in this field just like anybody else. And we're just as educated and just as accurate and just as phenomenal and a little more cute, than anybody else
Hey,
in this.
hey.
And
I
that's
love
it.
that.
That's all.
And you know what? Thank you so much. Listen, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you? Because we've had so many people watching. This has been the longest You Choose Sunday that I've had to date. We're going over an hour, but we still have very engaged viewers. So thank you. If you
Thank
are still
y'all.
watching, listen, we really appreciate it. I love doing this every Sunday. I love featuring somebody who can really come and give the real about what you need to know about. So this is really great. Crystal, tell everybody where they can find you.
Okay, you can find me at the nearest Lane Bryant. You can find me at Target, at the Big B Coffee getting a chai latte. Oh, you mean online? Oh, excuse me. You
I'm
can find
done.
me on Facebook at facebook.com/My Coach Crystal. You can find me on LinkedIn under My Coach Crystal. You can find me on Instagram at My Coach Crystal. I'm not very active as much as I used to be on Instagram or a lot of my platforms because, like I said, I'm trying to draw back and make sure that my health is good so that when tax season comes, I can just be off and running. You can also get in contact with me at info@mycoachcrystal.com. My website is www.mycoachcrystal.com. And the telephone number to reach me is 313-799-5264.
One more time. One more time.
313-799-5264. If I don't answer, it goes straight to voicemail. Just leave me a message and I will call you back. You can text me. I'm a texter too. I will text you, DM me, put it on my page, whatever. I'll be there.
You will. You will. Thank you so much for being here today. Thanks everybody for coming. I'll be back next
Thank
Sunday.
y'all.
But in wrapping up, I want to remind you, Maximum Communications, don't forget to follow my page. I'm here with You Choose Sundays every Sunday, 1 p.m. I have a different guest. I shouldn't say every Sunday because some days I'm like, I need a break. I'm not here. But come and check me out. See if I am here, right? Because I'm usually here on a Sunday. And I am booking 2021 workshops today and throughout December going into 2021. So if you're looking to really bring some fire workshops to your teams, teaching them about social media strategy, bringing their marketing in-house, and my favorite thing, helping them to learn, understand, and engage their communities and their team members about diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace, come and see me.
Yes.
Come and see me. You had one more thing you wanted to say? Was that
Oh,
it?
I was going to say, you said workshops. And again, I think I mentioned it at the beginning, but I don't know if a lot of people were watching. I do workshops for corporations and businesses. I have been doing them for years for the UAW, for a motor company. Excuse me. And so what I would do is I would talk to your employees about budgeting or credit or personal finance or financial trauma and how that might lend itself to their financial situation. And it's been going good. Like I said, some people have had really good years, and this has been a pretty decent year.
Yeah. I'm not complaining. So listen, hey, thank you so much for stopping by. I'll talk to you soon. I'll probably be talking to you later on. God bless you. God keep you. I love you. I love you all. Talk to you
Bye,
soon.
y'all.
Peace.